sorry. I'll do it now. Okay. I get my computer up. All right. I will call the meeting to order at 7:02. We'll do roll call. Keith Lipker.
Here.
Paul Varga. Let's see. Pam Summers. Not here. Judy Austin.
Here.
Tim Rose. Not here. And then we have for alternates Bill Becker.
Bill, here.
And Rob. Rob Turnett.
Here.
Okay. So since we have a few open seats, I'm gonna see Bill Becker for Pam Summers, and then I'll see Rob Turnett for Paul Varga. Okay. So then next is going to be communications. The only thing that I have to say is that I guess Governor Lamont is proposing to have additional funds to be sent out throughout the state for education as well as like municipal aid. So he's projecting an additional $170 million to be spread throughout the state. There hasn't been a breakout yet as to what town gets how much or whatnot, but we can hopefully expect to get something out of that chunk of change. So at least hopefully state revenues will be a little bit higher than we expected. Okay. So then, besides that, the next thing will be to approve the minutes from last meeting. So can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I motion to approve the minutes from last week. Judy.
Okay, and then a second. Okay, is there any updates? Discussion on it?
No.
All fair? Okay, so then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everyone? Any abstain or any objections?
I was not a seated member, so I'll
Or
abstain.
any
And
abstentions?
you have 3 votes passed the motion.
Yes, we can just do 3. Okay. And then Rob, you should abstain too, because you weren't seated this last meeting either.
But technically, either a third motion, either one of us could have voted just to get it.
Oh,
If you did, you know.
yes. Yes, so we have Judy, Keith, and myself, and then you two as alternates, and then, okay, it passes. Motion passes. All right, any public comment? I don't see anybody from the public. So next is going to be the discussion and action for the suspense list. I asked Dan to join us if he could just present the list, go through a little bit of like background, what happens with it, how it's collected, and then we can discuss from there. Dan, are you able to share the documents, or do you need to?
If you could share it, that'd be great. I don't think I'm able to, unfortunately.
All right, it might be in minutes because I have to log in. what would be better to present, the Excel spreadsheets or the PDF?
I would just say the PDF. Okay. Thank you for pulling that up. I appreciate it.
Where would you like to start? Well, you want to go through the letter?
I think the letter to start off from here and then I can explain. That's okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Well, good evening, folks. I'm Daniel Beltran. I'm the Ashford tax collector, and I'm just here to present the annual suspense list for review and approval. So in accordance with CGS 12-165, I'm respectfully requesting the Board of Finance approve the transfer of tax accounts amounting to $18,028.79 to the suspense tax book. To be suspended will be motor vehicle taxes for a total of $10,157.53. Personal property taxes, $7,871.26. The tax office has spent a considerable amount of time researching accounts to be put on suspense in order to have an accurate file of collectible accounts. I believe these accounts to be uncollectible and have not been paid to the best of my knowledge. Please note any tax transferred in this manner is still collectible if additional information is received and will be continued and pursued by outside collection procedures if deemed appropriately. Respectfully, myself, Daniel J. Beltran, Ashford Tax Collector. So just to go over the list here, this year consists of more of a conservative look. I've been in the position since December 2nd of 2025. So in that time frame, I really haven't had a great scope to look all the way around, but the accounts that really need to be looked at that were not suspended were the following categories, which are the bankruptcy category. You have deceased accounts with closed estates, and then dissolved or closed businesses. So as far as for those categories go, that's where we went for this year for the suspense list. And then as far as for the show here, give me one moment. Each year will range depending on, which category it is, but the majority of personal property was dissolved or closed businesses, and then a few of them that were due to bankruptcy, Chapter 7 or Chapter 13. And then as far as for motor vehicle, the majority of those were deceased accounts, sprinkled in with a few of bankruptcy accounts.
So, this is just a detail of the other sheet that you had. So,
Yeah, so on the right-hand column on the far right, it'll show the reason why. Per CGS 12-165, we have to name the person that we're suspending, the address, the amount, and then the reason why we're suspending the account. Suspense doesn't mean that we're writing it off completely. Per state statute, we can collect up to 15 years from the due date when the tax came due. All we're doing is just removing it from the active rate book, so we can have more of an accurate accounts that we can collect from.
so is that the grand list that it gets removed out of there? Is that the rate book?
This right here is just it collectively puts them all together, but they range. We look here. It's going to be all over the place just because it's in alphabetical order. And the Excel spreadsheet, you could break it up.
Dan, may I call you Dan?
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah, this is Keith Lipker. I think Karen's question was, removing this takes it off of the grand list, or how's it, what does that mean, the rate book?
So these are what these accounts right here are considered active receivables, which means they're considered actable accounts for us to collect on, which truly they're not, because of the fact that deceased accounts that have closed estates, those will never collect on. Accounts that are in bankruptcy, Chapter 7 and Chapter 13, the federal law, we can't collect on those. And then dissolved businesses, per the state of Connecticut website, once they're dissolved, I mean, there's no course of action to go after those accounts as well. But basically, we're just putting into the suspense tax book, basically stating that these taxes are uncollectible, but we can, like I said, can still collect up to 15 years from the due date.
So, I have a question. I look at some of the dates, starting under motor vehicles going back to 2010. Of course, that's now more than 15 years. But that is that when the tax was first owed? That date?
So the grand list year is as of October 1st of that assessment period. The 2010 motor vehicle tax bill would have came due as of July 1st of 2011. And then the supplemental bill would have came due on January 1st, 2020 or 2012, excuse me.
So during that time between then and now, were there activities, steps taken to collect?
Yes, the previous collector, Linda Gagney, she was pretty thorough when it came down to collections. It's just some of these accounts, either, like I said before, we tried to collect on before for the deceased accounts. Once we found out they were deceased, they were marked deceased. Like I said, if it closed estate, there's nothing that we can collect on those. And once we receive information for bankruptcy through the federal court, we can't collect on anything once it becomes discharged. And then, like I said, with the dissolved businesses, once that business is dissolved, there's nothing really we can do about that.
Does the municipality ever file with the bankruptcy court to be seen as a creditor that's owed money?
Yes, we can file a proof of claim for Chapter 13, but Chapter 7 typically is a non it doesn't result in anyone getting any money. They basically discharge all debts on those accounts, which typically those are the ones that are a part of this particular accounts. There was one in here that was for Chapter 13, but it doesn't seem like any payments were received to the town.
So,
Dan, isn't it normal in some bankruptcies that secure creditors are the only ones paid? Everybody else is left with nothing?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Can you say that again, please?
In a bankruptcy, sometimes it's only secured creditors that get anything and everybody else gets nothing.
Right. It all depends if it's a priority or a non-priority, or secured or non-secured. Typically, if it's secure, would be like real estate accounts. Motor vehicle and personal property tend to be non-secured / non-priority. That's where you try with a Chapter 13, you have to file a proof of claim within that time frame that it's allotted, and it's all based on order when it's received.
So Daniel, by looking at this list and accepting this list, it kind of helps you get more of a realistic view of what we're exactly taking in, a fresh start, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And so when this does get removed from the rate book or the grand list, where does it sit? So if it doesn't get written off, is it in a different account somewhere? Do you know, like how like the accounting side is?
Yes, so for our grand rate book, it'll have active accounts and then we have suspended accounts. So that will go into the suspended category going forward.
Well, just for my clarification, is the rate book, is that like the grand list or is that something separate?
The rate book is comprised of all the grand lists together. So you have from the last 15 years, you'll have from what the current one, which is the 2024 grand list, through the 2010 grand list, which we can collect on from the 15 years from the due date.
Do you have the total amount of those suspense?
Yes, the total amount that we're requesting to be suspended was the $18,028.79.
Well, because you say that it goes onto the suspense list, do you have a total of the actual suspense list? Because if it's cumulative, do you know how much it is in total?
I don't have that number in front of me, but I can definitely get that to you if you like.
Because, okay. Because I was just thinking of how we calculate obviously the mill rate, and so we take what 98% of the grand list. So like here. So I was curious to see if our projection of, $10 million and where the suspense actually comes to play with that number.
Well, it would decrease from the original amount that was set to collect, which the collection rate for the 2024, I believe there's only, let me double check here. Yes, there's only two accounts for a total of $254.49. And that's what we're being measured on for this year's grand list. So that dollar amount of $254.49 would come off the books.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions about it?
But going forward, in the May timeframe, I'll be presenting the list to the Board of Finance. And it'll be a regular list that you guys will receive. And like I said before, for your approval to take a look at for uncollectible accounts.
Oh, so we'll get another list?
Every year. So by law, we have to send you a list for your approval.
Oh, okay, so this is for this year, okay. I thought
Yes.
you meant like in May, so like next month you'll send another list and then we'll do that one, okay.
No, sorry about that.
But like the 2010 incidents, they'll drop off then because they're no longer collectible. Is that it?
Yes, that's correct.
So Daniel, from your experience, the collection that we had for last year, would you consider that high or normal or somewhere in between?
The collection rate,
Yeah.
I believe last year was it 98.64?
Yeah.
Double check on that. But that's a good sweet spot for the town. Anything above 98% is good. You
Okay.
want to be right there. And right now, as of today's date, we're at 98.01%.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Yes, no problem.
Okay, does everybody answer, or, does everybody have their questions answered? Any other ones that we have to?
Then is there any, thing that strikes you as like a focus that we should have regarding, what you presented, just for our own knowledge?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the first part of your question?
Is there anything, with what you presented that would be good for us to, like, say, know of or focus on, or, work with the, your department, anything in that way that, would be beneficial for all of us, for the town?
I think probably knowing the amount of delinquencies for the back taxes of the prior years is a good knowledge, what's going on as far as for, delinquencies within the town. We have plans for within the new fiscal year to be implementing a collection agency to be starting to collect on the back years for back taxes. So they'll start going after the individuals that haven't paid, let's say, for the last 5 years, 10 years within the statutory time frame to try and collect on those bills.
And they get paid a percentage of what they collect, correct?
Correct. They receive a 15% commission. That costs nothing to the town. They basically do all the legwork for those delinquencies.
That'd be good.
That's actually not a bad percent,
What, they're cut to
the
15%?
Yeah, I used collection agencies quite a bit, job. It's.
It's never fun, it's never fun.
You can't,
Yeah, I guess. For not the person receiving it.
no,
No.
Yeah, I mean, I seems pretty solid, and yeah, if they're deceased, I don't think that we're gonna get the money back. So, if there's no other questions, can I get a motion to approve the suspense list?
So moved.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah. Motion passed.
The last ones.
Huh?
Did I mess up the last one?
What do you mean?
Just.
We can go.
So unanimously?
Yeah, it was just passed unanimously. Okay. Well, thank you, Dan.
you.
Appreciate you coming in and explaining it to us.
Yes, no problem. If you guys ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to my office. I'll be more than happy to help you out.
Perfect.
Thank you, Dan.
We
Yes,
will.
you're welcome.
Thank you. With that, let me find my agenda. Agenda item for the next meeting is just gonna be, let's figure out after the vote what happens. So, stay tuned, cross your fingers, your toes, who knows? And then, we will meet on that Thursday. So what is it, the 7th? Because voting is the 5th of May, so go out and do that, tell your friends.
is that a regular meeting?
I believe so. The 7th, yes, regular meeting. Okay, and with that,
So, Kayla,
all right, go ahead.
so just so everybody knows, we're not the only towns. They had some articles out recently that a lot of towns are having a real hard time with their budgets this year. Some are even postponing till after the state comes through with their figures. So just to let everybody know, we're not the only ones.
Yeah, I do find it interesting that it seems like they're upping, their aid, but we don't have any idea how much, or like what to project. So I don't know how that's gonna go or,
I've never heard towns delaying until after they come out with it, but that's what they're saying. They might be doing so just because it's this type of year.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing to do.
Yep.
We'll see. Can't
Yep.
go, can't go back now. That's it. It is what it is. All right, so with that, oh, Bill, yes,
I have a question.
yes.
Does anyone on the Board of Finance have a line item Excel spreadsheet for the general fund?
They don't give spreadsheets. Nobody gives spreadsheets.
What?
We don't have a spreadsheet, or at least I don't have a spreadsheet for the budget, no. They only provide the register, like, from the accounting system budget.
And I don't know if that could,
I'm sure it could be exported into Excel, but
or file be limited or whatever.
What, you say, are you looking still for the, like the proposed budget? By line
Yeah,
item?
right, because when I was on the Board of Finance, I'm dating myself, it's almost a half a century ago. Is I developed the first spreadsheets for the town. And it's real convenient for board members to have a laptop and know how to use it. Because the government budget is really expanded in line items. And for board members, to be able to analyze is extremely helpful.
Is this? You want to, is that what?
No, what I mean is,
Yeah.
or you could get it on a spreadsheet
yeah,
Or then
and
you
use
can
it
slide
on
and
your
dice.
own computer.
Yeah, you can slice and dice it.
I like it, yes.
Which is what
Yeah.
it used to be done with the Board of Finance, and now I think, my personal opinion, is that every single member who it cares to should have a spreadsheet of the budgets.
I think that this, if you can, sometimes it pops up and you have to hit, allow editing, like even the print. I think in that case, unless it's protected, I would think you could play around with it.
Well, even a protected spreadsheet, you could usually do a save as
And then,
and create a new one. There, and I mean, even a PDF via the software, you can convert it as a PDF as a picture. There's software that'll take a PDF and convert it back to text. I mean, I don't know how to use
Yeah.
that stuff, but.
That costs money.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be hard to digitize around like the trade statements here.
And I don't know how fast I could set up a spreadsheet, because I don't know how easy it is to dictate into a spreadsheet. I can't type quick enough. The spreadsheet that Catherine did is 18 pages.
Yeah.
But that's her private
Yeah.
personal spreadsheet. She doesn't, she's not required to share that, I don't think. That's a lot.
well, I guess that goes into, for next meeting, at least depending on the results, if one portion of it is not passed, then come to the meeting with suggestions and, I would say like an open mind of how we go forward. Because I think, especially if it doesn't pass, then we as a board need to at least all agree on the way that we're going to handle it and the way that we are going to review. So I think that would probably be our first item of discussion next meeting, depending on the results of, okay, well, how are we gonna do this? Are we gonna let departments handle it? Are we gonna do an Excel spreadsheet and we, all of us as a board, go through it line by line and dictate that. Yeah. I saw your eyes, Rob. There's a lot of lines.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? So just come up with ideas or at least be open-minded and then we have to decide. Because whatever we have to do has to come as a board collectively for everybody. You know, and vote on what we're gonna do too, if it comes to that.
So Kayla, we actually don't decide where they take their cuts. We just decide on how much needs to be cut.
So that's not true. The Board of Finance has the total line item authority, except for the Board of Education.
Oh, I think you better ask Catherine about that.
Catherine is wrong, I already know, okay? And the board now, it's better, because Catherine is definitely familiar with the operational aspects. And one of the problems with the government budget is the huge amounts of mandates that are in that budget that aren't necessarily obvious that they're mandates. In other words, they fit on mandates, like the dues for the, what do you call it, the health inspection. Okay, we do not have a health department. We have to pay for that. There's all sorts of little things like that in the government budget. So it's certainly advisable to have the first selectmen's input on the cuts, but statutorily, we have the obligation to present the line item budget to the town. That's by statute.
We have our responsibility, if it comes back and we have to cut, is discussion about how much to cut and if it's feasible, not line item by line item.
So we have
the departments decide on that.
Believe it or not, the Board of Finance legally is the policy board. And you could have situations where a department wants something that's different than the Board of Selectmen. It's the Board of Finance's obligation to settle that difference. The Board of Finance would want more or less money than a department requests. And that's our obligation and statutory responsibility. We have complete line item. This is why the enabling legislation sets up the Board of Finance. We represent the legislative body like the federal Congress does. We represent the legislative body and we present the budget to the town meeting. And by law, the Board of Finance is the final decider. And that's why I raised the issue of whether or not people had spreadsheets. It definitely should be done in consultation with the Board of Selectmen, because they're the executive branch and have the operational experience. But the burden by law is on the Board of Finance. If the Board of Finance votes to give the Board of Selectmen a general number and have them come back with recommendations, that's perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It would just take longer for the budget process, which may be okay, because it's nice to see what the government does. So this is all a balancing act.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing where if you wanted to do something like that, Bill, you could come and we can suggest, you know, if we think, you know, these 4 accounts may be kind of like when we do with our questions of, oh, electricity, this doesn't seem high enough. We can suggest you updating it, suggest things.
Well,
if there are specific line items.
The final vote comes, it's no longer a suggestion.
Well,
It's
yeah.
what the board decides.
Well, yes, but I'm sure in before then, there will be discussion.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
we go back with a meeting, exactly, we're not just be like, we're cutting this, and it's done. You know, so we'll see
But
for next
sometimes
meeting,
that has happened.
I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure anything can happen.
It did this for
But it's no different throughout the year where they change, you know, they'll move monies to different areas that they need them. We don't have any say on that. You're voting on a total sum of what they're allowed to spend.
Judy, that is also not correct. There are limitations in what they can transfer. All right, And if you want to be harshly technical, they can't move anything around. It is a normal courtesy, courtesy, and it's not illegal to allow a flexibility in the government budget, because it just makes common sense. But there's even limits within that flexibility, okay? They can't suddenly decide to, let's say, take huge amounts of money out of public works and put it in something else.
No, I'm not talking about that.
No,
I'm not talking about that.
I was mentioning an extreme example, but there's limitations, okay, to what can be done with a budget. The only department that has no limitations is the Board of Ed. They could change your budget 2 to 3 times a year, and that's perfectly legal. It could be clunky for them, but it's perfectly okay. The government budget, once it's passed by the town meeting, that's the budget, unless the Board of Finance adds to it, and there's even limits to that.
All right, well, with that, we'll see what happens. And,
All right.
yes. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Steve, let's adjourn at 7:38. Thank you again, Dan. Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you.